Oh, yeah. It's about that time. You know what it is. We are here for NFL betting picks for the week 3 schedule, and we are here for pick 5, win 5. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else in between. Welcome back to my betting show where it is my job to give you my 5 favorite plays in the sports betting world. Now, before we jump into today's picks, first, subscribe to the channel. All you good people out there, come on, be a part of the family. We're giving out winners all the time on this channel. We messed up on Thursday Night Football, but we were 5-0 with this pick 5, win 5 last weekend, and we are trying to get as close to that, if not fully replicate it this weekend. But before I do get into the picks, I gotta say, I just came from watching Oregon beat the dog, you know what, out of Colorado. That wasn't pretty. Dan Lanning had those boys ready to play. You know, I'm not a Deion Sanders critic or anything like that. I'm actually a huge fan of what he's doing for Colorado's program, what he's doing for college football in general, attracting more eyes than really ever in the last few years. It's been absolutely awesome to see. But he was, when he goes out seeking the spotlight like that, he's got to be ready for other coaches to take it personal, as he said, and Dan Lanning sure did that. Now, I do think it was a little unnecessary to try to go for those 2-point conversions and run the score up, going for it on 4th down, but he made his point, and he made his point, felt very well. It'll be interesting to see if Oregon moves up in the top 10. As I'm recording right now, I don't think any teams above them have lost, so that will be interesting. Colorado does not win that game with Travis Hunter. They don't even come close to it, and it's going to be really interesting to see what they can do with Caleb Williams, who, in my opinion, the moment he steps onto an NFL field, will be a top 10 quarterback, and it won't be long before he's a top 5 quarterback after that. So yeah, that's out of the way. And without further ado, like I said, subscribe to the channel, and let's go ahead and jump right on into these picks. So my favorite pick of the weekend, there are no locks in sports betting, but if there were, then for me personally, that lock is the Tennessee Titans plus 3.5 versus the Cleveland Browns. So the Titans have allowed just 65 rushing yards per game, and this is a Browns team that all they want to do is run the ball. That being said, they just lost Nick Chubb for the season. Great news. Looks like it's only a torn MCL. Could have been a lot worse. If you remember, he had a similarly devastating injury when he was in college, tore, I think, 3 ligaments and dislocated his knee. It looked like that happened again. Again, reports suggesting it's only a torn MCL. Prayers for Nick Chubb. Hope he gets back to full strength. Looks like it won't be a career-ending injury, which many people thought it was. So again, nothing but positive news, or at least as positive as it can be. But that being said, I do think Chubb's team is going to go down here. It's a run-first team that's going against one of the best run defenses in all of football. And Deshaun Watson, how much more proof do we need that he is not that guy that he was with the Houston Texans? Sure, he led the league in passing yards at one point in his career. Yes, he was a top 5 quarterback in the league at one point in his career. But right now, we've seen him in 8 games with the Browns. He has thrown for more than 300 yards, more than 200 yards just 3 times. Maybe he does again this weekend because he doesn't really have anything else to support him. But this team it's not looking good. And I feel bad for the Cleveland defense because they've done more than their part through the first 2 games of the season, but I don't think this team is going to be good. You've seen the Browns somehow are still like top 10, top 12 in Super Bowl odds. I have no idea why. They're a very bad team, and the Titans just continue to be disrespected. Mike Vrabel, all he's done since he got to Tennessee is do more with less. He guided this team to the AFC Championship game. He's got them in playoff contention nearly every year. If you remember, over halfway through last season, they were 7-3. They were the number 1 seed in the AFC. Granted, they did lose their next 7 games straight, but you know what? They're 2-0 against the spread to start the season. They were 8-2 to start the spread last season. I think they get a nice cover here. And for plus 3.5, the fact they can lose this game by a field goal and still cover is ridiculous. I'm probably going to be betting them on the money line personally, but Titans plus 3.5, that is my first pick. My second pick is going to be the New England Patriots minus 2.5 versus the New York Jets. Everybody knows about the dominance that the Patriots have instilled over the Jets so far, or not so far, but recently in their rivalry history. The Patriots have won 14 straight matchups versus the New York Jets. And this is a New York Jets team that is being quarterbacked by who? The one and only Zach Wilson. If there's you know how in survivor pools, there's a popular trend of, well, you pick against the Cardinals or you pick against the Texans. I will pick against Zach Wilson at nearly every opportunity you give me. And this is the kicker. Wilson's worst opponent, the team he's performed the worst against throughout his career, his what is it, 4-year career, 3 or 4-year, is the New England Patriots. In 4 games against them, he has a passer rating of 50. He's thrown 2 touchdowns and he has 7 interceptions. 2 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. So for every touchdown, he throws 3.5 picks. It's just awful. It's an absolute travesty. Since 2005, teams that are 0-2 against the spread cover 56% of the time. That criteria fits the Patriots here because they did not cover against the Eagles and they did not cover against the Dolphins. They get on the board, they get a win outright, and they get a cover, at least 3 points. Patriots -2.5 versus the Jets. That is where we're going with the second pick. My third pick, and I know this is going to be very controversial because why on earth would you bet on this team right now? Well, I'll tell you what. I am betting the Chicago Bears +12.5 versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, during the offseason, as many of my loyal subscribers will know, I was going on and on about how every single year there's at least one team that makes the jump from worst in the division to first in the division. I said it's unpopular because every time you try to pick a team rapidly ascending the standings, it's going to be unpopular. But my pick to do it was the Bears. It doesn't look like that could be any more wrong. They have just been atrocious through the first 2 games of the season. Their defensive coordinator resigned a few days ago. Popular internet rumors suggest there's some nasty stuff going on off the field. Not going to dive into any of that. But the offensive coordinator's under fire. They were chanting to fire him. Or no, that was the Steelers. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears fans at home are doing that as well. There's Justin Fields said the reason for the team's struggles and his struggles is coaching. It's just a mess right now. All of that, to me, results in desperation football. You've seen that, or at least you've heard that the Bears coaching staff supposedly has changed up the verbiage, and they've spent a lot of time this week going over specifically how they can unlock Fields more. He hasn't been running the ball very much, and we've seen from last year that as soon as he's let off the leash, this team becomes a lot more dynamic. I think the defense can play a lot better than it has. And the Kansas City Chiefs, look, first of all, I want to give credit to their defense because it has been electric so far. They probably have a top 10 defense in the league, but the offense, even though it's 9th in yards gained, it's only 22nd in points. Again, we're only 2 weeks into the season. I trust Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes to figure it out. But I think going into this year, we didn't account for the fact that Eric Bieniemy was gone. And, I know Bieniemy was overshadowed, but he did play a role in that team's success. He was their offensive coordinator. Again, I think the Chiefs will respond. They will get better. But we've seen they have taken a couple of steps back. And here's the big one. Patrick Mahomes in his regular season career as a double-digit favorite is only 7-13-1 against the spread. So pretty much 2 losses against the spread for every 1 cover. I'm going to take the Bears +12.5. I think they lose somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 to 10 points. Chiefs win, and we're going to get to my survivor pick later. I will just say a little bit of foreshadowing. This is going to be one of the most popular picks this week, but the Bears will cover, in my opinion. Just like another team that will cover, and speaking of Eric Bieniemy, the Washington Commanders +6.5 versus the Buffalo Bills. So the Commanders, they've had an interesting start to the year. This is their first 2-0 start since 2011, I believe. It's either 11 or 16. I always get this confused between the Lions and the Commanders. One of them was 11, one of them was 16. I forget which is which. But the bottom line is that the Commanders aren't used to getting off to hot starts. Wow, I really want to go back and delete that. The Commanders are not used to getting off to hot starts, but that's what they have done so far this year, and you've seen the improvement of the offense. Granted, Sam Howell and company looked a little shaky in the first half against the Cardinals. They didn't come out firing in the first quarter against the Broncos, but as the games have worn on, you've seen them get better, and they've adapted to the defenses. The influence of Bieniemy starting to show because you've seen Brian Robinson Jr. utilized in new ways. They're getting the ball deep down the field to Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, and Curtis Samuel controlling a lot of the intermediate game. I think it's a very nice blend of what they've got going on in Washington. And Sam Howell only played 3 games. So far, he's 3-0 in his professional career. Each performance, I would say, was better than the last. Last weekend, he led an 18-point comeback on the road against the Denver Broncos team, who, while most people don't have a lot of respect for, they were so expected to be better than the Commanders are. And then on the other side, Washington's defense is tied for the league lead in sacks. We know Josh Allen gets very flustered when there's pressure put on him. He's prone to making a lot of mistakes. Washington has the defense to capitalize on it. They're at home. This is the first time in a while there's a real spirit in Washington because Dan Snyder's no longer involved. I think this is a good spot to get the Commanders. And, they could win this game. I'm not going to put it past them. I would still say that if you force me to bet a money line, well, first of all, I wouldn't bet the Bills because of the value. But if I had to pick a money line, I would be going with the Bills because they are the better team. They should win this game. But I think Washington with Bieniemy, we've seen he's had a lot of success against the Bills in the last couple of years. Sure, he had Mahomes and Kelsey and Tyreek, and that definitely helps. But he's got experience playing against this team or coaching against this team and beating them. So I think Commanders plus 6.5. This is a really good bet. So that is going to be my fourth pick of the show. My fifth and final pick is coming up just around the corner. But before I give it to you guys, again, I would encourage you, smash that subscribe button, join the community. Like I said, 5-0 on the Pick 5 Win 5 last week, trying to do it again. And we're going to try to do it every week throughout this NFL season. So you guys want to be around for that. My fifth and final pick is the Pittsburgh Steelers +3 versus the Las Vegas Raiders. I will blindly bet the Steelers spread as underdogs every chance I get. It doesn't matter who they're playing. I'm saying that with authority. Mike Tomlin is the most profitable underdog in the history of the NFL. As an underdog, he is 52-28-3 against the spread. He has made more money as an underdog for bettors than any other coach in the history of the National Football League. The Steelers just covered and won outright as underdogs last week against the divisional opponent. Sure, it was on Monday Night Football. They had a shorter week of rest, and they've got to fly across the country to Las Vegas to play the Raiders. But you know what's so good about that? The Raiders aren't very good at football. They're bottom 7 in scoring. They're bottom 7 in points allowed. This team is not good. Josh Jacobs has not gotten off the mark. Devontae Adams is still amazing, but Jimmy Garoppolo has not thrown for more than 200 yards yet this season. Adams has not caught more than, I think, 80-something yards passing. The defense really has nothing to talk about except for its pass rush. Oh, wait, Chandler Jones isn't there, which hurts them even more. I think this is an absolute steal for +3. Again, you can get a push if they lose by a field goal, but just like with the Titans, I'm probably personally going to be betting the Steelers money line. I think they win this game. So my fifth and final pick will be Steelers +3 versus the Raiders. Let's jump on over into our teaser. This was very successful last week. This was a hit because it was the first time that we talked about a teaser on this channel, and it ended up hitting. And I got to say, I am now 4-0 on teasers this season. I've placed 2 in both weeks. Both of them have come through. Or all 4 of them have come through. And I'm really excited about this one. So let me tell you about it. So this is a 4-leg, 7-point teaser for +200 odds. So 2-to-1 value on this. Here are the legs. I was talking about how much I love the Titans. Well, you know what? We are going to raise that line anyway, just for the extra security. We're going to go Titans +3.5 to +10.5 versus the Browns. Then we're going to go Jaguars -7.5 to -0.5 against the Texans. So pretty much a money line. Cowboys -12.5 to -5.5 versus the Arizona Cardinals. And then Ravens -7.5 to -0.5 versus the Colts. So let me just tell you those final line values again. We have the Titans +10.5 versus the Browns. Jaguars +0.5 versus the Texans. Cowboys Cowboys -5.5 versus the Cardinals, and then Ravens -0.5 versus the Colts. What do you think of that? I think that's a steal for 2-to-1 value. I really do like that. I have already locked it up. And then my survivor pick for this week might be a little contradictory because I did include them in my spread bets, but I'm going to take the Seahawks to beat the Carolina Panthers at home. Look, I just don't trust Andy Dalton to lead this Panthers team on the road without J.C. Horn, with the offense kind of underperforming, the offensive line looking great. I don't trust him to go on the road and lead a win. That being said, the Seahawks have given very up and very down performances so far this season. Dalton is also a veteran, so I wouldn't count him out from keeping this game close. And I don't fully like it at that -5.5, -6 sort of spread, but I do think the Seahawks will win this game. And so I'm going to take them as my survivor pick. Obviously, like I was saying earlier, the Chiefs versus the Bears, that's going to be an extremely popular pick. I'm not a huge proponent of saving all of your good picks for later in the season because my philosophy is if you lose early in the season, then there was no point in saving the good picks for later because you don't get to use them. But I do want to save the Chiefs for just a little bit longer because I don't think they're at full strength yet, and I think we will need them in the future. But guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Like the video if you did enjoy. Comment, let me know, first of all, what you think of my picks, and then what your favorite plays for this weekend are. Subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all very soon. Have a great day.